The day begins along a rugged coastline at daybreak. Gentle waves lap against weathered rocks as soft pink and gold light washes over the scene. Far off, a modest coastal ranch clings to the cliffs, its weathered barn and farmhouse bathed in early sunlight. Light ocean fog drifts over a quiet, fenced pasture, hinting at the chill of the new day and the promise of hope on the horizon. In a small coastal home, Raya Brennan, a determined 15-year-old, wakes with the first light of day. Still half asleep, her eyes reflect both loss and the quiet strength of youth. As the gentle sound of the sea mixes with the soft murmur of the morning, Raya prepares herself for a day that holds unexpected change. A day that will soon test her courage and unlock a legacy of hope. Down on the wind-swept beach, as the tide retreats, something unexpected emerges in the wet sand. Deep hoofprints and scattered seaweed hint at a mystery waiting to be unraveled. There, near the water's edge, stands a fragile, trembling horse, its silver coat dulled by salt and time. This discovery, carried in by the ocean's rhythm, is about to test Raya's courage and change her life forever.
Waves of freedom. A rescued horse's journey to triumph. The day begins along a rugged coastline at daybreak. Gentle waves lap against the rocky shore while the sky glows in soft pinks and golds. The camera pans inland to reveal a modest ranch perched near the cliffs, where early sunlight illuminates a weathered barn and a simple farmhouse. Light ocean fog drifts over a fenced pasture, hinting at the chill of the morning air. In this remote corner of the Pacific Northwest, sea air mingles with the scent of pasture grass. Raya Brennan, a determined 15-year-old, awakens slowly, unaware that her life is about to change. Since losing her father, a respected horse trainer, 2 years ago, she has helped her mother, Alexis, keep the family's small coastal ranch running. Though her father's absence still leaves a hollow ache in her heart, she finds solace in these early hours, surrounded by the gentle hush of dawn. But fate has its own plans. On this morning, the tide brings a discovery that will test Raya's courage and reawaken her father's legacy. The story of a brave girl, a fragile horse, and the powerful bond they share is about to unfold. Raya walks along a narrow, winding path leading down to the beach. Seaweed and scattered driftwood line the shore as the morning light grows stronger. Carrying a small tote bag meant for collecting firewood, Raya nears the water's edge and notices unusual footprints in the wet sand, accompanied by deep hoof marks. Rounding a rocky outcropping, she freezes in place. There, trembling by the water's edge, stands a thin horse entangled in a mass of seaweed. Its silver coat, once gleaming, now appears dulled by salt and grime, and visible ribs press against its sides, while one hind leg shows bruising. Raya's breath catches as she watches the horse's eyes reflect panic and pain, yet a spark of life remains. Without hesitation, she drops her tote bag and softly speaks comforting words. Though frightened, the horse does not bolt, and Raya's heart races with the need to help, leaving behind all her questions for one moment. Determined not to leave the horse stranded, Raya pulls out her phone and dials Colton Reed, her late father's old friend and a traveling farrier known for handling equine emergencies. The wind pushes strands of her dark hair across her face while waves crash behind her, forming an urgent soundtrack. With trembling yet resolute voice, she describes the horse's condition and location. By the time Colton arrives, Raya has managed to free some of the tangled seaweed from the horse's legs. The horse stands nervously as Colton approaches, with calm, measured tones, reassuring it as he slowly fits a makeshift halter around its head. Seabirds wheel overhead, their cries echoing across the rocky shore, and Colton remarks that the horse's fine features hint at a once prized pedigree. With quiet determination, they decide to guide the horse back to the ranch, hopeful that care and time will mend its broken spirit. Arriving at the ranch, Raya and Colton guide the limping horse along a winding trail that climbs from the beach. As they near the destination, the wooden barn and modest house come into view. Alexis Brennan, Raya's mother, hears the commotion and rushes outside, her eyes widening at the sight of the battered silver horse. A mix of worry and empathy crosses her face as she helps open the barn's side gate to allow them to lead the horse into a small, protected enclosure. Inside, Raya notices the horse's labored breathing and sunken flanks, clear signs of neglect and possible abuse. Yet, when Raya speaks softly, the horse lifts its head and twitches its ears in a small, hopeful response. Colton examines the injuries, cuts along the hind leg, bruises, and signs of malnourishment, and suggests a regimen of rest, water, and gradual feeding. Though Raya's heart clenches with worry, she recalls her father's teachings and believes that kindness and perseverance can work miracles. As dusk settles over the ranch, Raya kneels by the fence of the enclosure, with the sky glowing in gentle oranges and pinks. She looks into the horse's eyes and softly says, "Seabright, I'll call you Seabright." The name resonates with hope, a light on the shoreline that promises a new beginning. Alexis steps outside, handing Raya a flashlight and suggesting that she get some rest. Yet Raya insists on staying a bit longer, draping a soft blanket over Seabright's back and whispering words of reassurance. Though the horse flinches, it does not flee. And in that small victory, mother and daughter share a determined look. A sleek car's headlights briefly pass by on the dirt road, unnoticed as they remain focused on their promise. With the new day's sun peeking over the coastal hills, Colton arrives in a pickup truck with his farrier's toolkit. Inside the enclosure, Seabright stands uneasily, ears flicking at every sound. Colton greets Raya with a nod, his eyes reflecting the determination he sees in her, a spark reminiscent of her father. He carefully checks Seabright's hooves, noting cracks and signs of poor care, and explains basic feeding, hydration, and gentle physical therapy. Raya listens intently, referring to her father's old training journals and learning about the trust method, where she must stand patiently until the horse associates her presence with safety. Even as the horse remains anxious, Raya persists, offering handfuls of oats with soft words. Outside, a neighbor named Marisol Delgado appears, casting a critical glance before turning away. Raya shrugs off the comment, focusing instead on the slow signs of progress. Transition from Part 1 to Part 2. As the gentle morning fades into a day of challenges and quiet victories, our journey deepens. Daniel of the past now meets a new Raya, whose courage and compassion kindle hope in a wounded horse. But the road ahead holds more tests, confronting old nightmares and forging new bonds. Stay with us as we step into Part 2, where healing begins to intertwine with determination. With time, Daniel and Scout, now part of our parallel story, show that even the smallest changes can transform lives. In the next chapter of our tale, the past's shadows still linger, yet hope is steadily emerging. Daniel's inner demons return in restless dreams and memories of a tragic fire, but his loyal companion Scout is there to anchor him in the present. Small joys begin to accumulate. The apartment transforms from a place of isolation to a home filled with light and love. Old friends reconnect, and Daniel starts venturing out, each day building on the last. One afternoon, Daniel's old friend Mark appears unexpectedly. Their reunion is bittersweet, filled with shared memories and quiet understanding. Mark's presence reminds Daniel that, despite the overwhelming weight of guilt and loss, life can still offer moments of connection and kindness. At the dog park, the sound of laughter and the sight of playful dogs become symbols of renewal. Though anxiety and uncertainty persist, every gentle touch and soft word help heal old wounds. As the journey continues, Daniel finds that saving a stray dog was not just about rescuing an animal, it was about rescuing a piece of himself. Confronting his past, he visits the old fire station, where the weight of guilt is palpable. A comforting hand from a fellow firefighter and the steady, calming presence of Scout begin to lift that burden. It is in these moments of vulnerability that Daniel learns to forgive himself and to accept that even broken hearts can be mended through compassion. The story then shifts to a moment of unexpected reunion at the animal shelter, where a young volunteer, Lily, is inspired by Daniel's kindness. Through her eyes, Daniel sees that the act of rescue ripples outward, touching lives in ways he never imagined. A small-town adoption fair further cements his transformation, as he becomes known not as a broken man, but as a humble hero whose journey of healing offers hope to others. Late at night, in quiet introspection, Daniel asks himself why he chose to save that abandoned horse all those years ago. The answer, as he pens in a journal, is that he needed saving too. A realization that in offering help to another, he found the strength to begin healing himself. With newfound resolve, he embraces his role as a mentor and protector, speaking at community centers and sharing his story with anyone who will listen. Finally, as the journey nears its end, Daniel stands on the steps of his apartment under a starry sky with Scout by his side. In that serene moment, he feels a deep, abiding peace. The road was long and the trials many, but together, they found their way toward freedom and hope. The gentle rhythm of life, marked by quiet walks, healing words, and steadfast loyalty, has transformed their worlds. Their story is a testament that even the smallest acts of kindness can create waves of freedom. Transition from Part 2 to Part 3. Our tale of healing and hope continues into Part 3, where every challenge met and every small victory leads Daniel and Scout further toward a future filled with promise. With old wounds slowly mending and new opportunities emerging, join us as we witness the final steps of their remarkable journey. A journey of renewal, compassion, and the unyielding strength of the human spirit. Now, as we enter the final chapter, we see that life has taken on a new rhythm. Daniel, once burdened by grief, finds himself transformed through the quiet power of compassion and connection. The bond between him and Scout deepens, and their shared experiences ripple outward, inspiring others in the community. At the animal shelter, Daniel meets Lily, a young volunteer who is moved by his story. He shares his journey of loss, redemption, and hope, encouraging her to believe that every life is worth saving. The shelter becomes a place of healing, a sanctuary where abandoned animals and lost souls find refuge. A community adoption fair further elevates Daniel's transformation. The local paper features his story, and the neighbors, once strangers, now recognize him as a man who rose above his past. Scout, proudly wearing a bright bandana, becomes the emblem of that change, a symbol of resilience and love. Families come together, and Daniel finds himself surrounded by warmth and genuine smiles. Each step forward, from quiet walks to lively conversations, marks a slow but steady reclaiming of life. As Daniel settles into this renewed existence, he reflects on the countless small moments that have shaped his journey. The memory of a tragic fire that once defined him now serves as a reminder of how far he has come. In the quiet moments before sleep, Daniel writes in his journal, "I saved a life, and in doing so I saved myself." These words, simple and profound, echo the sentiment of a man who has rediscovered his purpose. In the final scenes, Daniel stands on the front steps of his home, gazing at the vast starlit sky. With Scout by his side, he feels a deep sense of peace. The trials of the past have given way to the promise of a brighter future. In the gentle embrace of the night, he whispers to Scout, "We made it, my friend. Together, we have found our way to freedom." And as the soft breeze carries his words into the darkness, the legacy of compassion, hope, and redemption shines like the first light of dawn.